Hi! Happy Wednesday, everybody. How are you? I'm so excited. I haven't done one of these for a while. I have not done an open Q&A, ask me anything in a while, but many of you are participating in the Right Audience, More Sales Challenge. Some of you have just been reading it, even if you haven't been participating in it. And it just seems like over the past week, I've gotten a lot of different questions. So I've gotten a lot of questions around podcasting. I've got a lot of questions around the challenge and everything we're talking about. I've gotten a lot of questions about goal setting. I've got a lot of questions about PowerSheets. So like recently, I've just gotten a lot of questions. And so I thought, I haven't done an open Q&A in a while. And so that is what we are doing today since it's a challenge week. I thought it would be a good time to just have an open question and answer session where I will answer all your questions, right? Like I'll try. So I will, or different strategies or challenges that you're facing or the challenge that we're running right now and things that are coming up for you there or whatever you want to talk about me, whatever. So when you're here, tell me hi. Hi, everyone. How are you? I'm so excited for this. And I know a few people asked questions in the group, so I'm going to be pulling those up. But when you jump in, just let me know. Like this is just so informal, but it definitely requires your participation, right? For this to work, an open Q&A, it 100% requires your participation this time, right? So really what I tell people is like, are you taking advantage of all the opportunities available to you to reach your goals and grow your business, right? And that's kind of what I do for a living. I am a business strategist. I have clients and I help them get more sales and increase their, increase their revenue and increase their clients and increase their visibility and so this is kind of your ability to get some free coaching, to get my eyes on your business, to get some feedback, to get some support, for free, right? That's what this is, your ability to get your questions answered, feedback support. I always feel like there's no reason why every single person in this group shouldn't be taking advantage of this opportunity, right? There's no reason why every single person, if you don't have a question for me, then that means your business is hitting all of your goals and everything is going perfectly and you're doing everything you want and you're not struggling in any way or having any challenge or not hitting your goal. You know what I mean? Like everything's going swimmingly, which if it is, I love that. I think that's great, right? But that's all I tell my mastermind group. So I run a mastermind group and the mastermind group has 6 people in it. And I tell them at every session, all of you should be asking a question, right? Like at least one, if not more. Like if you're a CEO, if you're a true CEO, you should always have questions about your business. There should always be something you don't know. There should always be something you need support around. There should always be something you need feedback on. There should always be something that you need your help with, right? And so that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here for you. Unfortunately, I've seen some people hop in and then they hopped out and they decided not to take advantage of this opportunity. But I will answer the questions that people who couldn't make it posted in the group. And then if nobody else logs on, then I guess that's, that's it for today. But I'm hoping that that's not the case because it would just be such a shame if I'm here, right? Like, and I will say this, I am fully booked for coaching for this year. I'm fully booked for 2019. My masterminds are full for the rest of this year. They end in December. My private coaching spots are full for 2019. I'm not selling any intensives for 2019. Like there's no way to work with me for the rest of this year. So if you want my advice and my feedback on your individual challenges, your individual business, like your ideas, brainstorming, you just want, this is it, right? This open Q&A, this is it. And so while I pull up the questions of people who asked questions in the group, again, if you're here, say hello. If you have a question for your business, say hello. Otherwise, after I answer the questions of the people who submitted it in the group, then I'm going to shut it down. But I always say, if you popped in and you saw me, or if you knew this was happening and you didn't pre-post a question, or you don't ask a question live, then that means everything is going perfectly in your business. everything. You're hitting all your goals and everything's going well. And so I hope that's the case. But if it's not, then why are you not taking advantage of every opportunity available to you to grow your business, right? That's a question. And so that's why I'm here. All right, so let's see. So Julie Burke posted on, so I did the post, right, of the reminder, right? And Julie Burke said, I would love more referrals. Any ideas and suggestions are appreciated. So this is a common question all the time. How do I get more referrals? How do I get more referrals? And my answer to that, Julie, is it's really specific based on your business and the kind of referrals that you want to get. Now, I know, Julie, that that's a kind of vague answer, but I'm going to give you an answer you might not be anticipating, which I think you're asking the wrong question. So, hi, Kathy, no question today. No question today at all. There's nothing in your business that you need any feedback or brainstorming or advice or input or suggestions or anything around. So I just looked outside at a beautiful sunset. Oh my gosh, that's beautiful. Okay, Julie, so back to referrals, right? In the group today, I posted a post, and in it I said, I think people are asking the wrong questions. And what I mean by that is I always get questions about, Rita, what's your journaling routine? Rita, how do you get up at 5 a.m.? Rita, how do you, right? Questions about my habits, right? Which is fine, I get it. We like to learn how other people are doing things so that we can kind of take their methods and their styles and adapt them and make them our own. Right? But I don't think that that's really the right question to ask. I think the questions people need to be asking, right, are about themselves. And I'm bringing this up because people are more prone to ask the easy questions than like the harder questions, right? So our brain will always look for the shortcut. Our brain will always look for the easy way. Our brain will always look for the way that takes less effort, right, for us to do things. In fact, there was a study about this in, I can't remember, New York Times, Washington Post, one of this, but scientific proof that we are born lazy. We are literally born lazy. The chemicals in the way our brain works fight us to keep us lazy, right? So you have to understand that that happens in our thought process. So Julie, I say this because your question was, how do I get more referrals? And I could answer that. I could say, who's your customer base? What kinds of, who's your ideal client? You know, what are you trying to sell? What is it that you need referrals for? And really dig into your strategy. And I know you a little bit, so I will answer a little bit of that. But what I challenge you with is, I don't think that's the right question. I think the question needs to be, how can I generate more sales? How can I grow my audience? How can I grow my, because when people are always saying, I need more referrals, I need more sales, so I need more referrals. How can people refer people to me? All you're doing is putting your business in the hands of the timeline of other people, right? So when people like bank on word of mouth referrals for what grows their business, word of mouth referrals are nice. Word of mouth referrals are good, right? But the one thing they're not is in your control, right? They're not in your control when people decide to refer you or not. I don't want to put my marketing in the control of anybody but me, right? Like I want to be able to keep all of the control of my marketing in my business. So I can't control when people refer me. Now I like it, I appreciate it. I definitely try to give the best client customer service that I can so that people refer me. I definitely try to educate and get collaborations going and showcase through this group, even if people aren't my clients, right? All of the ways that they can feel comfortable referring me. But when people keep saying, how do I get more referrals? I say, stop asking that question. That's not the right question. If you're not making the sales that you want, and that's why you need more referrals, right? Then you need to ask what you can do to get more sales directly, cutting out the middleman, cutting out the people who would refer you. To which, right, the reason that we're going to the referrals is because our brain is wired to be lazy. What is it that I can, that can bring me more sales that I don't have to do? What is it that will just, people will just be referring people to me and I don't have to consider the harder question of why am I not making the sales that I want? Why am I not generating it? What can I do to increase? How can I control the timeline of this as much as possible, right? So Does that make sense? And Julie, if you're watching this on replay, does that make sense? I hope so. And if people are watching, right, does that make sense? So my first response when people say, how do I get more referrals, is stop asking that question. If you need more referrals, it's because you don't have coming in what you need to come in. You don't have the number of clients signed up that you want. You don't have the number of sales that you want to be making. The sunset is really pretty, I guess. You don't have the sales that you want to be making. You don't have the group members that you want to have. You don't have the subscribers to something that you want to have, right? And that's why you're asking that question. But that's not the solution to that question. That can be something that helps, right, bring you to the results, but referrals are not the solution to that problem, right? The solution has to lie with you. And so I would say, you know, instead of looking for referrals, Julie, I would ask, what am I doing to walk into rooms and be surrounded by my ideal client, right? This is something else I noticed in networking. And we're talking about networking today in the right audience, more sales challenge, which I don't know if you're registered. You can probably see the post in here. We're on day 3. It's a free challenge to help you get more sales right now, right? By calling in the right audience so that you get more sales. Well, we're talking about networking, today. And one thing I noticed are people love to go to referral networking groups where they're talking to people who are in other professions, right? And everybody in the group is like pledging to refer business to each other, right? And that, again, right, even if everybody in that room has the same target market, it doesn't make it a bad choice to go to networking with it. But it's not your best. It's not the best use of your networking time. Would you, if you, for example, if you serve singles, okay, if you serve singles, if that's your target market, single women, single parents, single moms, let's say single moms, let's say that's your target market. Would you rather be in like a BNI group or a group with other entrepreneurs, or a group saying, hey, this is what I do and I would love for you to refer business to me. Let me help you know what I do so you guys can send business to me? Or would you rather spend that networking time in like the Single Parent Association, going to one of their chapter meetings or going to one of their events or one of their luncheons or one of their whatever, and know that you're surrounded by single parents, right, with single moms being your target audience? Which is, right, the better use of your time, right? The better, most efficient and most effective use, the better decision for your business is to go to the Single Parent Association, right? Like, go there. Don't go to the BNIs. Don't go to the networking groups with other entrepreneurs unless your target market is entrepreneurs, right? Like, don't go to those. It's not the effective use of your time. And it's for the same reason that like asking people to send you referrals is not the best solution to increasing your sales, because you're just allowing that to be dictated by other people when they decide to refer you, when they remember to refer you, when they choose to refer you, right? So Julie, I know you asked the question, how can I get more referrals? I'm gonna kindly, compassionately, and lovingly push back to you and say, I'd like you to ask a better question. I'd like to ask you, how can you walk into a room, both physically and virtually, and be surrounded by your ideal client? And the last time, because I have talked to Julie before, Julie, the last time that we talked, you said that your ideal client were owners of restaurants, like the bars, breweries, that was it, breweries, right? Well, right, you could walk into, like, you could put in my group, you could walk in and say, I'm looking for referrals, but how many of us really know, maybe, I mean, I know 1 or 2 of us that know an owner of a brewery or 2, right? That's not effective. But if you find out where all the brewers are gathering together, where people who work in the brewery beer industry, right? The beer industry, where they all gather, where they're going to learn, where they're going to network, where they're going to events, right? Even hanging out at a brewery, right? Like, that's going to serve you better than asking a group of your non-target market, your non-ideal clients to send you referrals, right? Does that make sense? So that's what I push back on. I push back and say, stop asking how you can get more referrals, because I think you're damaging your business that way. The question really needs to be, not that referrals are bad, but if that's your focus, if you're not where you want to be in your business and your go-to is how do I get more referrals, that's not the right question. The right question is, how can I be surrounded by more of my ideal client? How can I be surrounded by more of my target market, me? How can I walk into a room and be surrounded by them? So again, real quick, that example of if single moms are your target market and you're networking at entrepreneur networking groups, like if I had an in-person networking for the All-In Entrepreneur, right? If that was my group, the All-In Entrepreneur, that's not the right place for you to go. Like, it's not effective or efficient to go to the All-In Entrepreneur, BNI, other entrepreneur groups and stand up and ask for referrals, unless entrepreneurs and the kind of entrepreneurs of that group are your ideal clients and target market. It's a much more effective use of your time to just go and directly build relationships and directly connect and with your ideal clients and target market, so that you like control those relationships. You are directly building the relationships. It's always going to be more effective than a middleman. Hi, Karen. Thank you. Thank you so much. So guys, if you're just hopping on, this is open Q&A, right? So right now I'm just reading the questions that people pre-posted. But if you guys have questions about me, about my business, I mean, it's an open book time, right? There's no question off limits. Everything is open about me, about my business, about strategies in general, about your business, about challenges, about ideas you want to brainstorm, you know, as much as I'm able to answer here. And if I really can't answer, I might direct us to a free call so that I can dig in, right? But any question, this is like free coaching right now, like take advantage of it, right? Because there's no other way to coach with me this year. So like take advantage of it, right? But this was in response to a question I got about how do I get more referrals? And my short answer was, I think that's the wrong question. If you're not getting the sales you want, if you're not where you want to be in your business, that's the last thing you should be thinking about. What you need to be thinking about is, how can I build my audience? How can I build my community? How can I build, right, with your audience and community being your actual target market, your ideal client? How can I walk into a room physically and virtually and be surrounded by them? Because that will be more efficient than walking into a room where you're not surrounded by them, but you're asking other people to go find them for you and refer them. Right? Referrals are just a nice, think of referrals as an icing on the cake. Word of mouth referrals, icing on the cake, right? But because you're not in control of when they happen, it's not a solid way to build your strategy to grow your business, right? They're nice, but if you're not where you want to be, don't ask, how can I get more referrals? Ask, what can I do to grow my community directly? What can I do to establish relationships with my target market directly? So how many of you are doing that? In fact, I have a client, right? Karen's like, how do you stay positive? Okay, so that'll be the next question. Okay. So I have a client who is going to all of the entrepreneur groups, all of the networking events with other entrepreneurs, right? We all know what all of these groups are, right? So she's going networking with all of these entrepreneur groups, but her customer, her client, the person she needs to be connecting with for business, is in corporate America, is in an office during the day, is sitting in an office during the day. So going to all of these like entrepreneur groups, that's not a great strategy for her to grow her business. And she's like, but I'm telling them about my business, and I'm saying, if you know anybody in corporate, right, make sure that you refer them to me. If you know anybody, why would you put extra layers between you and your ideal client? Instead, she should be going where the person, let's say it's human resources, right, where the director of human resources hangs out with other directors of human resources, or where they're business to business events, or where they're corporate people, right? That's where she should be going, so she can walk into a room and be surrounded. So for example, there's the Society of Human Resource Managers, right? She should be going to their chapter meetings. She should be doing that. So I'm curious if that resonated with anybody, if somebody's like, oh my gosh, like I am banking on referrals more than I am doing the work to actually build relationships directly and meet people directly in my audience. How many of you realized you're in the wrong room when you're networking, that you're making it more difficult and less effective? I would love to know. And if you're watching on replay, go ahead and put that in there. So Karen, I see your question, but there's one more that was pre-submitted, so I want to go ahead and look at that. So thank you, Julie, for the question, right? But when you said, how do I get more referrals? Nope. Instead, go make more connections in the brewery industry, because I know that was your market the last time that we talked, right? And those people, they're not usually at a lot of the entrepreneur event. They're not at those places, right? They're not. So like if your target market are single parents, and you're in this group all the time, while I love having you here, this is not the effective way to communicate about your business. You need to be finding groups for single parents on Facebook and be in there, right? Now, here's the thing. Some people say, but Rita, I'm not single. Okay, so I do want to, Rita, I'm not single. So how can I go to the Single Parent Association luncheon if I'm not single? Or how can I join a Facebook group for single parents? Now, of course, you have to look at the rules of the Facebook group, but just assume they allow all kinds of people in, right? How can I join the group for single parents if I'm not one? When you're, let's take the in-person event. When you're at an event for single parents, if someone says, oh, so you're a single parent, you can be like, actually, I'm not, right? But my clients are. And it's really important for me to stay up to date on the challenges and the things that they're wanting and on everything that's going on in their lives so that I can serve them better. And so when I heard of this workshop, I knew I needed to come, because that's how I will be able to serve my clients better, is by understanding them better. And there's no better way than to put myself right here to learn about them. And then people are like, wow, that's amazing. Like, tell me, like, what do you do, right? Like, that's so much more effective. So I hope that that makes sense to you guys. Okay, so Maggie says, my question is related to my affiliate. It's not moving as fast as I projected. I've had several people signed up and the sales are trickling in by one instead of the teens. I'm thinking of offering incentives, not sure what. Okay, so Maggie, I don't know if you're here. I'm assuming you posted the question because you're not able to be here live. So there are a lot more questions I have for you, right? So for people who don't understand, right, affiliate relationships are like, hey, you're an affiliate, like I'm a PowerSheets affiliate. Okay, so you guys hear me talk about PowerSheets all the time, yes? And so this is a great time for me to talk about PowerSheets, right? So you guys hear me talk about PowerSheets. It's a goal setting tool. It's a goal setting tool that I've used to build my business, right up to the multiple six-figure mark, right? It's because of PowerSheets. Well, not only, but it's mainly because of PowerSheets, right? And so I love that enough that I became an affiliate for them. Meaning, right, I talk about their stuff and I promote their stuff, and I get a small portion of every sale that comes through my affiliate link, right? Now, it's no extra cost to you guys, for example, but I get a percentage of the sale because I'm talking about it and I'm doing the sales and I'm promoting. So that's what an affiliate relationship is, just so you know before I answer Maggie's question, is that where you have people who are promoting your stuff, right? So Maggie, when you say, I'm thinking of offering incentives, so my first question is, are there no incentives right now for people to be an affiliate, right? So number one is, if incentives are the reason why people become affiliates, right? Like otherwise it's just people who happen to like you referring people to you, right? Incentives are kind of the difference between people who are just referring you and being an affiliate, okay? So that's kind of the difference. So if you're affiliates, if you started an affiliate program and they're not, then I have all kinds of questions, right? So one is, what are the incentives? How much is the percentage that they're making? Are there contests, right? So like one is, what's the percentage that they're getting from each sale, right? That's something to look at. Number two is, what contests are you having to encourage them to be in the top 5 or to be in the top 2 or to be in the top whatever? Like, are there different incentives? Are there different periods where maybe they get a higher percentage of the sales, or where they get a cash bonus, or they get some other bonus, some other thing of value for being one of the top affiliates, right? So that's something. The other is, how did you launch your affiliate program, right? How did you build your list? How did you educate people? How did you get people invested? Are these people who love your product already because they've used it and they love it and they know it works, and they were already telling people about it, and now they can't wait to make money from telling people about it because they were already doing that, right? So like, or are these just people who are like, oh, well, I've never used this before, and oh, but I like her and I like making money, so I'll talk about it, right? Like, the concept of what's in it for them is real when it comes to affiliate relationships. So one is, what's the percentage of the sale? The other is, what is the incentive to be selling constantly, right? That's the other. The next one is, how did you ramp them up to be, like, who are they? Are they people who are already invested in you and your community and your product? Or were these just random people that kind of came together, or people that have never used your product, or people who are just friends, or people who are whatever, right? Like, they're not going to have the same and then, do these people have their own audience? Do the people who have signed up? So what are your rules? What is your container? What are your parameters around having affiliates? Do they have to have a certain size audience? Do they need to be like someone who's made a certain amount of money in their business? Like, you need to set the container for what they have, so you know that they are really great people to do and to complete and to fulfill, right, the goal that you have by them being an affiliate, right? So those are all questions to ask, like, how much, yes, how much is the percentage of the sale, and what are the incentives, but who are they? Are these people who already know, like, trust you and the product that they're selling? Have they been talking about it since before you have an affiliate fee? And if they have, do they have an engaged community that trusts them? Are they able to talk like I do about Power Sheets, and people are like, well, if Rita uses Power Sheets, then I'm going to try it. And they trust that I'm not going to lead them astray, right? And are your affiliates, if they do have a community that trusts them, is their community, is their audience, are those people that would benefit from what you're selling? It won't matter if, like, what you're selling is a business coaching program, and I'm your affiliate, if my audience are just singles who just want to date and they don't own a business. So I might have become an affiliate for you, but if my audience, even if they're super engaged, they don't need your product or service, I'm not going to be a great affiliate for you, right? So you need to have rules and parameters and containers around who an affiliate is, right? And then what did you do to kind of launch that program, to get them excited, to get them to want to, like, what's in it for them to really go all in? What's in it for them to really be a great affiliate and get the word out? And how easy are you making it for them? Do you have swipe files that they can use for their newsletters and for their graphics and for their Facebook posts and for their Instagram posts and all of their tweets? And, like, what are you giving them to make it easy for them, right? So those are just some things, I hope, Maggie, that will help. So for people who are just hopping on, this is an open Q&A, right? Already I've answered the question, how do I get more referrals? So you're gonna have to watch the beginning of this to hear that. And then I just answered a question about how do I have better luck with an affiliate arrangement? If you're creating an affiliate program where affiliates will go out and help sell some of your products and services, what can you do to make that work? So that was the second question I answered. And now I'm gonna answer Karen's question. And Karen posted, how do you stay positive when you're building your business? So for those of you who are just listening, right, you can post any question about me, about my business. You can ask about the internal workings of my business, any question. It's totally game, right? You can ask about me, about my business, about my strategies, about, like, my freakouts, about whatever. You can ask about your business, about challenges, about goals. You can brainstorm. This is truly ask me anything, guys. This is free coaching. This is free coaching, right? Because I don't answer individual questions in the Facebook group, right? I talked about that in one of my Facebooks. Like, unless it's part of a challenge or something like that, like, if people just ask individual questions, right? I do that for people who will get on a clarity call with me. So this is your chance. Like, and do you take advantage of every opportunity to grow your business when a free business coach, right, one that's good, I'm really good at what I do, right, is in front of you? Do you ask the questions? Do you step up? Do you vocalize what you need? Do you ask, hey, I don't even know what to ask, Rita, but I want you to talk me through and ask me some questions, and, like, maybe I'll figure it out, right? So I put that out there. But Karen says, how do you stay positive when you're building your business, right? And that's training your brain through daily mindset work. It's just like any other muscle in your body, right? So you can't just run a marathon. You have to train everything, all your organs and all your muscles and all your bones, right? And all of that to be able to run the marathon. You know, you can't just wake up and run the marathon. So it can't just be like, I'm going to build my business, and so now I'm going to stay positive, right? It's like, no, you have to train your brain to think a different way. And it's not usually that we're trying to be negative about our business. It's that our brains are kind of wired almost from the beginning to default to the negative for everything. So we default to scarcity. There's not going to be enough. There's a lack. As children, right? As children, when they're blanks, when we don't know the answer, we always fill in the blank to our detriment, right? We always fill. So, like, if you come home and, I don't know, your mom is upset and she's irritated because she had a bad day at work, but you're a kid, right? And she's snapping and she's whatever. the child is filling in the blank to their detriment. I must have caused this. What did I do? Right? Now, as an adult, we know better. I could go over to my mom's house right now. Chances are she's probably snapping and irritable and cranky about her business, right? Like, I mean, not her business, like where she works. And I will know as an adult, oh, it's not my fault. I didn't do anything to cause her to be cranky. She's just cranky, right? But the problem is that when our brains think like that as kids, as adults, we automatically still do it. So I'm going to give you an example that I give some of my clients. Like, and I ask this question of most people, so I'm curious about your answer. So if you're watching on replay or whatever, answer here as well. Let's say that you're meeting a friend, right? You're meeting your friend for lunch, a good friend. And you're so excited, you haven't seen each other for a while, and you guys always are like the best of friends. And so you're going to go meet her for lunch. And you walk in and you're so excited. You guys always like, I mean, you guys are like BFFs, right? Linking arms when you walk down the street, like holding hands, hugging each other, like snuggling on the couch, and like best friends, right? Like, let's say you've been best friends since college or whatever. So you haven't seen her for a while and you're super excited, and you go to the lunch and you walk in and you're like, oh my gosh, it's you. And you go to hug her and she pushes out her hand and she's like, no, no. What is the first thought that goes in through your head? Like, I'm just curious, like, honestly, what was the first thought that went through your head? If you're so excited and she's like, no, 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 don't. But you guys always hug. You always do that. It's always been your way. And she's like, no. So for people who are here live, I'm just curious, right? I'm curious. What goes through your head? Nothing. Okay, for those watching on the replay, I'm also curious what goes through your head, right? When I ask clients or prospective clients this, right? Yeah, what did I do? So Karen just said, what did I do? That's the #1 response I get. What did I do? Do you see what I mean? Our brain always defaults to fill in the blank to our detriment, right? Meaning we caused it. What did I do? She could have just thrown up in the bathroom and she's like, no, I'm sick, don't do it, right? She could have just eaten an onion sandwich and she's like, no, my breath is like whatever. You could not even realize that you have something all over your shirt, that if you hug her, it's gonna make her messy, right? Like, it could be that there's like a jealous friend that if she sees you hug, she will stalk you. Like, you don't know. The whole point is you don't know, but you immediately went to, what did I do? Right? But that's normal. Like, that's what our brains do, right? So we always fill in, as children, we learn to fill in the blanks to our detriment. What did I do to cause this? So like Karen said, if her friend held out the hand and said, no, right? She's gonna go, well, what did I do? That's immediate. What did I do? Right? We have to train our brain to react differently. That takes exercise, daily exercise. And I don't mean like the run, although that helps, the running on the treadmill and all of that, but it definitely takes mindset work daily, right? Which is why I make this such a huge part of my coaching with my clients. Huge, right? Because it takes a lot of work to slip from that place of what did I do to just knowing that you didn't cause the situation. Or you didn't cause the situation. It also takes a lot of work to go from a place of scarcity and lack to knowing there's plenty and there's an abundance, right? It takes a lot of work to go from feeling inferior to feeling inspired, right? It takes a lot of work to go from believing that the worst case scenario for everything to knowing everything works out and you always get what you want. It takes a lot of work to unattach from results and just know the results are going to come. Like, it takes a lot of work, right, to do this. So when people say, how do I stay positive in business? You've got to be doing mindset work every single day, right? You need to be practicing gratitude. You need to be writing out your day as if it and gratitude for everything. Gratitude for even what went wrong. Gratitude isn't gratitude if it's only for the good things, right? Gratitude isn't gratitude if it's only for the good things. Meaning, if you're like, I'm so grateful that I have a roof, and I'm so grateful that I have this puppy that's sleeping on the floor. He's super cute, actually. And I'm so grateful that I have a phone, and I'm so grateful that I, like, that's easy, right? It's much harder to be like, I'm so grateful that I lost my job. I'm so grateful that I lost my job, right? Because I know it's putting me where I need to be. Now, people get positive thinking wrong a lot, right? So they're like, Rita, are you telling me that I shouldn't feel sad or mad or angry that I lost my job and I should just go right to positivity and be like, I'm so grateful? No, Gratitude, right? Gratitude for something doesn't mean you can't feel sad. You can be sad and feel gratitude. You can be angry and be grateful. They're not mutually exclusive, right? Positive thinking doesn't mean denying your emotions and not feeling sad and not feeling angry. Positive thinking means finding the gratitude, the lesson, the blessing, and trusting, right, that you're always where you need to be, that you always get what you want or better, that whatever happens is the right thing to put you where you need to be, right? But that doesn't happen right away. You have to train your brain to default differently, because like Karen proved, right, when I just went through that scenario, the first answer is, what did I do? What did I do? We're always filling in things to our detriment, that we caused it. We're always thinking the catastrophe, the worst case scenario. We're always thinking there's not going to be enough. We're always thinking scarcity. We're always thinking fear. We're worried about other people's opinions. So here's a piece of it too, Karen. Usually a lot of like what people call not positivity, negative thinking about business is rooted in fear of failure, fear of rejection, and fear of other people's opinions. So how many of you here live or on the replay feel those fears kind of frequently? You're afraid of failure, you're afraid of rejection, or you're afraid of other people's opinions, right? Say yes if that's you. Say yep, 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 or yes, or whatever, right? That's most everybody I work with, right? Who comes to me, like, of course, right? So people are like, well, how do I get over those fears? Rita, just tell me the secret to get over those fears. And I wish that there was an easy way. But what I will tell you is like the only thing that really matters to work through those fears. And it's not that they ever go away, but I'll tell you how to work through them. So we're made up of like three things. So we're made up of something. Pretend there's a big cloud over my head, okay? And it says self-concept, okay? So we are made up of our self-concept. And our self-concept is comprised of three things, right? Our self-concept is comprised of our self-ideal. Who would we be if we were the perfect person? Who would we be if we were the perfect person, right? It's made up of our actual self. So our ideal self, who would we be if we were the perfect person? Our actual self, how are we, right? So the ideal self is like, how do we show up as that fantasy ideal way? What are we eating? What are we wearing? How are we looking? How are we feeling? What expression is on our face? Like all of that, right? That's our self-ideal. Our actual self is what's really happening. What am I eating? How am I showing up? When am I waking up? What is my routine? What is the expression on my face? How am I treating people? What are the words that are coming out of my mouth, right? So we have our ideal self, and then we have our actual self, right? And then the third part is our self-esteem, which is how much we like ourselves. That's all self-esteem is how much do you like yourself? Okay, that's self-esteem. Well, here's why this matters, right? The more that you live your life as your ideal self, because your ideal self is rooted in your values. It's rooted in what's important to you, right? So the more that you make choices every day and live out your day every day in alignment, it doesn't have to be perfect, but in alignment with your ideal self, the higher your self-esteem, okay? Obviously, the more you're living in accordance with your core values, the more you're making choices that are in alignment with who you would be as your ideal self, like in that best version of you, the more you're actually doing it, the more you're going to like yourself, right? Which is why if your ideal self is eating strawberries and grapes and oranges and all of this stuff, right? If your ideal self is eating that, but your actual self is chowing down on half of a piece of pizza, right? I mean, half of a piece, come on, half of a pizza, right? Like, you guys all know I love pizza. It's my downfall. It's totally my downfall, right? Well, then your self-esteem goes down, right? So if my ideal self is eating strawberries and oranges and kale salads and whatever, but my actual self is eating half of a pizza, then my self-esteem goes down. Every time I'm living out of alignment with my ideal self, my self-esteem goes down. And my self-esteem is how much I like myself. So guess what? The lower my self-esteem, the less I like myself, guess what? The higher the fear of failure, the fear of rejection, and the fear of other people's opinions. Because if you don't like yourself, that's what you cling to. What other people think of you, what other people are saying about you, right? Because your self-esteem is down. So, right, the inverse of that is the more I'm making choices in alignment with my ideal self. If my ideal self is eating strawberries and I'm actually in my actual self eating strawberries, if my ideal self, right, is like showing up in a certain ways, getting visible every day, my ideal self is like, I'm making sales every day, I'm marketing every day, I'm whatever, right? Then the more I'm actually doing that, the higher my self-esteem. So to put it in a business context, right? If it's like my ideal self, Rita, is showing up on Facebook Live every day and giving lots of value to my audience and is, you know, selling because I know that people can be helped by my product. That's my ideal self. My actual self isn't getting on a Facebook Live. I'm not asking for the sale. I don't tell people about my stuff. I'm not consistent. My ideal self is consistent. My actual self is not consistent. Well, guess what? Because you're making choices and showing up in a way that's out of alignment with your ideal day, right? Your ideal self, your self-esteem is down. So if you want to be consistent, if that's something you aspire to, because that's part of your ideal self, but your actual self isn't doing it, every time you make choices to be inconsistent, your self-esteem will go down. And the problem with that is the lower your self-esteem, the higher the fear of failure, rejection, and other people's opinions, which just causes you to, guess what? Be more inconsistent, right? And so then more and more, you see the cycle, right? The only way to break the cycle is to start making choices in alignment with your ideal self. So if your ideal self is sending out a weekly newsletter, the minute you just start sending out a weekly newsletter, guess what? Your self-esteem goes up. And the higher your self-esteem, the smaller, the smaller, the fear of failure, the fear of rejection, and the fear of other people's opinions. So the more you're going to keep showing up as your ideal self, and the more that's going to happen. Do you see it? So you've got to break the cycle by just and it can be in any area. Like just pick something right now that's out of alignment with your ideal self, something in your actual self, actual life that's out of alignment with your ideal self, ideal life, you know, like about you, and just change it. It can be small. If your ideal self is eating nourishing foods, but your actual self is eating fast food, then by stopping eating fast food, right? And here's the thing, it's not compartmentalized. So this is what I mean. If your actual self, if your ideal self is eating nutritious, healthy food, your actual self is eating fast food, right? So your self-esteem is low because you're making a choice out of alignment with your ideal self. So fears can be high, right? Even though that choice that's out of alignment is in the food, health, wellness, your fears will be high in all areas, including business, right? So whenever you make that choice to stop eating fast food and start eating nourishing food, how much you like yourself goes up, your self-esteem goes up. And as your self-esteem goes up, fears get lower, right? Including in business. Does that make sense? So that's the first way. So get really clear about what your ideal self shows up as, and then look at your actual self and see if you're showing up that way. If your ideal self doesn't have a quick temper, if your ideal self doesn't snap at people, but your actual self is snapping at people all the time, right? Then that would be one, and just pick one thing and just start it and like get it to the point where you're showing up in that way as your ideal self, right? And there are all kinds of ways when people do this that they see that they're not showing up as their ideal self, which is why fears are high. So the only way to get fears lower is to show up in alignment with that ideal self. Your actual self has to show up in alignment with your ideal self so your self-esteem increases. That's how much you like yourself. Makes sense, right? We're going to like ourselves when we're making choices in alignment with our values and what we want, right? Which is why if integrity is a core value, and you have a full-time job, let's say you have a full-time job in corporate America, and integrity is a core value, but all day long you're just doing personal stuff, you're actually doing, or you do a lot of personal stuff during your workday, you're actually making decisions that are out of alignment with your ideal self. If integrity is a core value for you, meaning your self-esteem is going to be low, and that could show up in like your dating life, right? Like you will find that you're like fearful around dating and you don't know why, right? Because you're like, oh, but in dating, I'm making all these choices in alignment with my perfect self, my ideal self. But if in work, you're just wasting the company dollar, right? Like, and that can happen if integrity is a core value for you and you're an entrepreneur. If you're a CEO and integrity is a core value for you, but during your work day, during your work time blocks, during your work, you're doing personal stuff, right? You don't even realize it. Your self-esteem has dropped because you're out of alignment. And so the fears will be higher, and the higher the fears, the more you're in that loop of doing more things that are out of alignment, right? So you have to stop it, right? So, oh, hi, Maria, hi. So that's the first thing to do right, is to break out of that cycle. Like yourself. That's the first thing to do to start being positive about it. Because when you like yourself, you trust yourself. When you trust yourself, you can believe in the results, right? And it becomes easier then to step into gratitude consistently. It becomes easier to truly believe when that client, that potential client says, no, I don't want to work with you, Rita. Nope, don't want to work with you, right? It's super easy to be like, oh, that's too bad, that's sad. But I know that just clears space for the right client. That was supposed to happen. That put me where I needed to be. I either didn't need that client for all kinds of reasons I don't know, or now I'm free for a client that's going to be even more ideal for me, right? Like I always get what I want or better. I always get what I want or better. If I didn't get what I want, what I got must be better. I always get what I want or better. If I didn't get what I want, what I got must be better. I wonder how, right? But that's hard to do if you haven't trained your brain. So practicing daily gratitude, positive affirmations, all of it, meditation, being your ideal self, being physically healthy, all of it, practicing, like noticing how many times a day you make a decision from a place of fear and just deciding for one of them to make a decision from a place of faith. And this is what I mean. My example for this is like, pretend there's a blue dress with flowers on it maybe. And you love this blue dress and you look good. You guys can't see it because I have two Boobalicious here, but like you look good in this blue dress, or you look good. So you put it on one morning and you're like, oh, my favorite blue dress, I'm gonna wear it today. And you put it on and you look in the mirror and you're like, oh, wow, this doesn't seem to be fitting the same way. Where did this little roll come from? And where did that, oh, it's not looking good. It's not looking good. So you take off a dress you love, right? And you put on something you don't like as much, right? That was actually a fear-based decision because you love the dress, you feel good in the dress, but you were worried about what other people would think of you if they could see that roll or if they could see whatever. Ooh, that's not gonna look good. What will people think? People will see this roll, right? Like, so a fear-based decision is based on what other people think, other people's opinions, right? This shows up with my friends, like used to. When we would go out to dinner, right? We would go out to dinner and like, I think almost everybody at that table wanted like a huge steak or a hamburger. This is when we're younger. I don't think we care anymore. But like, I remember all the girls wanted, like, we all wanted food, right? But all the girls, like, this is when we were with our boyfriends and stuff in like junior high, high school. But all the girls would order salad, right? So let's say every girl at the table, you're thinking, I want a steak. God, I want a steak. And every girl was like, I'll have a salad. Can you hold all the stuff and no dressing? Like, I'll just have the salad. So it comes to you and you really want the steak, but you order the salad. And the reason you order the salad is because you're worried about what everybody else will think. That's a fear-based decision. If you don't speak up in a meeting because of whatever, that's a fear-based decision, right? So you need to start tracking how many times you make a fear-based decision. And I mean, literally track it. And here's what happens. The more you track it, the more it comes from the subconscious, because you don't even realize you're doing it, how many times at all, much less how often, to the conscious. And the minute it's in the conscious, your brain won't want to do it anymore, right? So like, you will reach a point where the next fear-based decision you're gonna make, your brain is like, stop it, no more fear-based decisions. We're gonna do what we wanna do. And that's like the beginning of being able to rewrite that, right? So it's all mindset work. And this is one thing I help my clients with more than anything else. It's like being okay with being trusting in yourself, believing in yourself, stepping in abundance. I mean, there is a reason why my minimum coaching time is 6 months, right? Because it takes about 3 months for you to kind of like work through a lot of resistance and a lot of unknown and come out on the other end with a new mindset, so that for the last 3 months, you're actually able to go and get focused and take the actions and sit in the discomfort and do the scary things, so that by the end of the 6 months, you're just starting to see results, right? It's not just a random 6 months. There's a calculated reason, right? The trajectory, now could people see some results before 6 months? Sure. And they often do, depending on, like I had a client today who just went and got their first client. Like they signed up with me yesterday and they're like, got my first paid client, right? Because they were already high self-esteem, low fears, like ready to rock and roll, right? But that's not normal. That's why 6 months, normally people are just starting to get the results at the end of 6 months, right? But that's because we have to do all this mindset work so that they're not in default thinking, autopilot thinking of scarcity, so that they're not hiding, so that they're not making fear-based decisions, but they're making decisions that are in the best interest of their business. And that just takes training the brain. So Karen, did that answer your question? Like, there are a lot of different exercises, and like the journaling, I know that you're getting some of my journaling prompts, right, as part of the mastermind and stuff. So all of that kind of stuff too, that's all helping, right? Only if you do it, right? So like for people who don't know, for my mastermind group, they get like some journal prompts and they get all this stuff. And if you read it, that's cool, but that doesn't help work out your brain. I can't just go look at a treadmill. I wish I could. Trust me, I hate running and I hate all of that stuff. But I can't just go look at a treadmill and look it up and down and be like, okay, well, I understand it. I understand the concept of a treadmill. I see people running on it. I get how it works. I understand it. I've sat here and watched it for a while. I should be good to go. It should be all I need. It should be all I need to lose weight, right? But we do this all the time with books, like life-changing books and journal prompts. We read it, but we don't stop and do the questions. We don't actually work through the exercises. We don't actually write out all of the stuff that the end of the chapter of a book tells us to do in a business building book or a personal growth book. A lot of the journal prompts that I have in a lot of my programs, I know people aren't actually pen to paper writing out the answers in full. They're just thinking about it. They're just thinking about the answers, right? And then they're wondering why their mindset's not changing, right? They're wondering why their mindset's not changing. Duh! Right? Like, because that's the equivalent of me looking at a treadmill, wondering why I'm not losing weight. I'm looking at it, I understand it. I get the point of it. I understand the concept behind it. Why am I not losing weight? Mindset is the same thing. Mind is a muscle. So Karen, I'm glad that answers. Hi, Beth. So the questions I've answered so far for people who are hopping on, I answered a question at the beginning. I'll have to go back and watch on how to get more referrals. I answered a question about affiliate relationships and how to make, like, what do you need to consider to make a good affiliate relationship? I just answered a question about how do you stay positive when you're building your business, right? So who else has a question? This is Ask Me Anything About Me. This is Ask Me Anything About my business. Everything's transparent, open book. Ask me anything about my path to building a business. Ask me anything about your business. Ask me anything about challenges, brainstorm, get clear on goals. Like, this is your chance to get some coaching, right? Like, this is your chance. So I can tell you that the difference between my clients that are really successful and the clients that are kind of like not where they want to be, right? It is a lot of this. One, my clients who are super successful take advantage of every opportunity, like to speak up, to like get visible, to like grow their business, right? They're also doing what I just told Karen, right? And that my clients who are like the most successful, they're just doing it. Like, they're doing this stuff. They're not thinking about doing it. They're not like saying, oh, I don't know, I think I might do this other thing instead. Like, they're doing it. We come up with a strategy, they do it, right? Another thing that makes my clients more successful, they focus on just me when they're working with me. I'm not saying that I'm the only coach for the rest of their lives or anything like that, but when they're working, like, and I don't mean they can't have like a personal trainer at the gym while they're working with me, but my clients who are the most successful, they shut out all other consumption, right? In the area of business strategy. They're not reading about business strategy anywhere else, except maybe a book or two that they love, you know, that they want to read, or a podcast they like listening to. But even then, it tends to stop. They're not following another coach. They're not in another program. They're not signing up for other masterminds. They're not signing up for other stuff about business. They're all in on what we're talking about, right? So a lot of times I notice when people aren't getting the results that they want, and they're not getting the results as quickly as they want, and I dig in, they're like, oh, but I'm also in this other program. I signed up for a program about launching. And I'm like, we're not launching. Why are you doing that? Like, oh, but Rita, I signed up for this other thing about making more sales. Well, cool. We also are talking about that, right? And it's not that I think you have to listen to just me, but if you're distracting yourself with other consumption, it means you're not producing, right? And so when you have a coach, like, if I went to 5 different personal trainers and they were all telling me to work out in a different way, if I went to 5 health coaches and they were all telling me to eat in a different way, even if it was slightly the same, and saying this is a priority of that, of course I'm not going to lose weight, right? So if you have somebody, go all in, but then do it. If they're giving you journal prompts, write them all out. If they're telling you to do something, do it, right? Like, I know it's the hardest thing, but it's like, that's the biggest thing. But a lot of people who aren't getting the results that they want, they're like, why am I not getting the results? And I'm like, well, have you done the thing that we talked about? No. Well, that's why you haven't gotten the results, right? Like, I can only get you so far. You got to take over, like, at a certain point. Like, you got to go do it, right? You got to go do, I can help you get through the discomfort, but you're going to have to be uncomfortable. You're going to have to do things that are new and scary and weird and like that you think, I don't know. Like I had somebody the other day say, we came up with a strategy for, so I have something called the all-in strategy. When I have a 90-minute intensive, it's like an all-in strategy to come up with your all-in strategy for business. And one of the pieces is how do you nurture relationships, right? And it depends on where you are in your business. That's a short story, right? How you best nurture relationships with people that become aware of your business depends on where you are in business. But we came up with her strategy to nurture relationships, and her strategy was a newsletter. So we committed to that. She was going to go all in for 90 days on her newsletter. And I talked to her yesterday, and I said, how's it going? She's like, well, I haven't sent it yet. And I said, oh, okay, well, why? You know, thinking if it's fear or something. Well, because I heard another coach say that email marketing doesn't work and that putting things in email doesn't work. So maybe that's probably not the best way for me to nurture relationships. I guess maybe I should do a Facebook group. And I was like, do you know why you decided not to do a Facebook group in the first place? Do you remember? And she's like, oh, well, because somebody told me that Facebook groups don't work. And so it's not the best way for me to grow my group. There's always going to be somebody telling you their way works and another way doesn't. That's their entire business, right? Is to stand firm for that, right? The idea is you have to pick what works for you, right? And do it and then stay steady with it. But here's why this is happening. It's just an excuse, right? Her going, okay, I'm all in on newsletters, and then being like, well, first it was, I'm all in on a Facebook group. Well, actually, first it was, I'm all in on a meetup group. And then it was like, no, that takes time. I don't know. That might not be the right thing for my market. And so I think I want to do a Facebook because my schedule, I can't be consistent with a meetup group. So I decided to do a Facebook group and said, cool. And it's like, no, because I heard Facebook groups aren't really working anymore. And Facebook groups are on their way out. I mean, somebody said, Rita, you have like 3,000 members here, 4,000. And look how many, only a small percentage are engaged. Facebook groups don't work. And then when she rolled out the Facebook group and said newsletters, then she's like, but I heard newsletters don't work. All that is a distraction from having to do something that's uncomfortable, right? So the more you consume, the more you will be like, well, maybe the way that I picked isn't the best way, and now I don't know what to do. And you get overwhelmed and you don't do anything. So you have to block out consumption, which is why picking a coach and sticking with that coach and only focusing on that coach, whoever it is, and do it will be your best bet. Because if you start consuming other stuff, it's going to be your distraction to not do something uncomfortable. It's going to be your distraction to not have to do it. So then you're going to find that you're never doing anything. But really, it's not because you truly believe none of these things work. It's because then you don't have to do something that's uncomfortable. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? It's not even really about bright, shiny object syndrome. It's not like, oh, this is exciting. Bright, shiny object syndrome is, oh, this is exciting. And oh, this is exciting. And oh, this is exciting. This is more, that's my out. I don't want to do that. And so the fact that I read this article and it says it doesn't work, that's my out. But guess what? I'm also going to find an article saying that this doesn't work. And now I'm going to find an art, but then I can blame all of this other stuff for why my business isn't growing, and it's not me, right? So then you don't have to take personal responsibility, right? So it's like this whole loop. So there's that, right? Then there are the people who can't sit in discomfort. So the second version of this are people who can't sit in discomfort, and you can't alone, right? It's very uncomfortable to be uncomfortable. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's uncomfortable to be uncomfortable. But the only way out is through. There's no shortcut around it. You can't just, oh, I'm feeling uncomfortable, so how do I shortcut around that? No, you got to be uncomfortable until you get comfortable. The only way out is through, right? But the other way that this shows up is when clients decide to do a strategy. Let's pretend a meetup group. And so they're going to run a meetup group for their strategy, and they're going to go all in on only that meetup group. And that's the only thing they're going to do. And they're going to do it really well. And they're going to do it for 90 days, right? So they're doing that. And then the results aren't happening as quickly as they want. They were hoping that like 80 people would join in 2 weeks, and that their first meetup would have 20 people, and everybody was going to love their group. And it was just, why aren't people got like right? Because they're scared. They want the results. They feel like my business is going to fail if I don't get results, right? So then they're like, well, I'm not getting the results. And from a fear-based place, they want to cast a wider net. Well, meetup's not really working the way I thought after 2 or 3 weeks, so I should also do a Facebook group. And maybe I should like hop over here or also do a Facebook group. And then, oh my gosh, my Facebook group isn't growing very quickly. Rita has 4,000 members. Why don't I have at least 100? I started it yesterday. right? And so like, then they're like, so maybe I should be on Twitter. And then like, well, maybe I should be on LinkedIn. Well, maybe I should. So they're never staying in any one thing long enough to get through the discomfort to get to the results. So everything that they do just doesn't have results, or it has little tiny results. That reason, unlike the other person that's just like, see, that's, I don't have to do that. This is my way out of doing that. This person is like, I can't sit in the discomfort and like get to the results. So I'm going to like actually do all of these other things that are keeping me from getting results, thinking by casting a wider net, by doing more, I will get results. I'm more likely to get results. But the truth is, you only get results by doing less, right? Which means doing one thing and going deep on it instead of doing multiple things and just kind of doing them halfway or doing them okay, right? So that's why I have the all-in strategy. Pick one way for this and one way for that and one thing to sell and work that for 90 days and learn how to sit in discomfort, learn how to not see results. But if you do it every day, if you show up fully, if you show up as an ideal self and you go all in on it and you do it, right, you will see the results at the end. The problem is most people aren't doing that. They're not showing up consistently for it, or they're not telling you they're not showing up consistently for it till after they haven't shown up consistently for it. Instead of like texting me going, Rita, I'm about to bail on this so that I can talk them down off the ledge, right? Like instead they're like a week later, so I didn't do that last week. And I'm like, you should have told me before you decided not to do it. Then I could have like kept you firm to it. You see what I'm saying? So this is that's the biggest difference maker, right? So Beth says, what to do when overwhelmed and have the urge to look for the nasty three-letter word job because it would be easier, but I don't want to? Or is that a question for, for a shrink, not a coach? I mean, here's the thing, Beth, we've talked before, right? And I think for you, there's a little bit of that fear of sitting in the discomfort, right? Like, so you're like, well, maybe I need to look for a job because this isn't working the way I want. But if I were to really dig with you and say, have you done your all-in strategy, right? Have you done like the thing that was the action from the all-in? Have you done that? Chances are probably not, right? Like, and I'm not saying that like to be bad, but it's like, it's just, this is common for people, right? And it's like, oh, so if you just say, this isn't working, that's so much easier than saying, I'm not working this until it works. There's a difference, right? Don't ask, is this working? Is my business working? I don't think my business could work. Could my business work? You're acting like you're just a victim to whether your business works or not, right? You have to change the language. Am I working my business until it works? Am I working it in a way that it will work? Am I working it every day and showing up, but showing up in the way that will help it work? Do I have the support? Do I have the coach? Do I have the strategy? Am I sticking to the strategy? Do I have all the other support? Am I being consistent? Am I going all in? Am I focusing on one thing, not all the things? Am I just like selling one thing? Am I on one platform? Am I going to like one way of building awareness of my business? Am I doing like, that's it, right? The right question isn't like, will my business work? It's, am I working it for it to work, right? And Beth is like, no, right? No, right? So it's like, yeah, if you're not going to work your business, then you probably have to go get a job, right? But the reason you don't want to get a job is because that would be somehow admitting to yourself that you're not doing what you need to grow your business. And you don't want to admit that to yourself, right? I mean, that's, you know, could be true, could not be true, right? But that's usually the thing, right? So again, it's all mindset. Right? It's like learning, really, I mean, again, if it was just information, if information was the only thing that you needed to be successful in business, we would all be millionaires. There is so much information out there. Have you been on YouTube? Have you done a Wikipedia like black hole before? I've done a YouTube black hole and a Wikipedia black hole before, right? Like you can find information for anything out there. It's all right there. So why aren't we all millionaires? Because that's not the problem. The problem is we get in our own way. We get in our own way, right? We just stand there blocking ourselves because of all this mindset stuff, like the fear, the failure, the reject, like all of this stuff. And so if you're not doing mindset work, you're not going to change that, right? You're just going to keep like being scared and not sticking to a strategy and not showing up as your ideal self and letting your self-esteem drop and like not doing the things to raise your self-esteem so that fears get low, not learning how to sit in discomfort, not like tuning out all the other consumption because it's all that fear. Oh my gosh, but what if I pick the wrong one? What if I pick the wrong thing? What if but that's all just excuses and distractions, right? Because picking any one thing, it doesn't matter what you pick. picking one thing and just doing it and doing it well will always be better than doing a lot of things not well at all. Okay. So I hope that helped. I hope that answered the question, Beth. Who else has a question? Does anybody else? I don't even remember how we get down that talk. I don't even remember how we got down that one. Is this helpful for people? Did this help? Yes, no? I know people are there, so just tell me yes, no. Again, for people who opted on, I'm going to wrap it up here in a minute. So if you have a question, put it in now, because I don't know when I'm going to do another live Q&A. And this is kind of it, right, to coach with me pretty much. So like put that answer here. But like we talked about how to get more referrals. That was at the beginning. We talked about affiliate programs and things to consider to create your own affiliate program and have good affiliates for you. We talked about how to have a positive mindset while you're running your business. And then we talked about like a little bit about LLM, but we talked about this whole like thing about a job, right? Like what happens if you start feeling like your business isn't going to work, right? We talked about that and things to consider. So who else, real quick, anybody else have a question? Again, it can be a question about me. It can be a question about anything internal workings, internal figures, internal facts, internal data about my business, decisions I've made. It can be about, so everything's transparent in my business always. It can be about your business. If you're having a challenge, if you're not sure about something, should I do this? Should I do that? Hey, Rita, I have a question. I'm not sure who my target market is. Or, hey, Rita, I hear that this is the way you should do it. What are your thoughts around it? Like, ask that now. If you're not sure what your goal should be, let's talk that through. If you have an idea, you want to brainstorm, let's brainstorm it, right? This is the time. So if you do, say yes. So I know that I can stick around while you're busily typing it. So if you have something, say yes, so that I can stick around while you're busily typing it. But if in a minute or two, I don't see a yes or a question pop up, now I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna wrap this up and shut it down. But I hope all of this was helpful for you so far. I hope if you're watching on replay that this was helpful for you. You know, I'll probably bring back an open Q&A every couple of months. I'll probably do one in January. But yeah, so nothing else, guys, nothing. Oh, I think the other thing we talked about, somebody asked what makes some of my clients more successful than others. And of course, there are a whole bunch of things, right? But the universal things, right? The universal things, and I actually wrote some of these down the other day. I have all these notes of things that, like, when I think about it, I'm like, while you guys are typing questions, I hope you're typing questions. Maybe I didn't write here, right? You're looking at the result, not the process, right? Oh yeah, the more you consume info, the more you're gonna lose the skills that you need, you know, to not need it, right? Like the more you consume info, the more you're actually gonna lose the skills that you need in order to not need to consume information, right? I don't know, I wrote notes somewhere, I'll find it. I was having like a little ranting journal session about things that really make me angry. Things that make me angry are people who have a coach and then I hear that they went and signed up for another program. Not just me, when I hear about it, when I know they have a coach and then they went and signed up for 18 other programs, right? Things that make me angry are when people are complaining that their business isn't growing, but they haven't done the work that has been given to them by their mentors. You know, there are all kinds of things, but my clients who are being the most successful, they have focused, they have narrowed, they're doing less. They're doing less. So I have one client, she just had a, well, it wasn't just, it was a few months ago, but she had a launch of a program and she had, I mean, she came to me because she wanted to increase her revenue. Okay, so she wanted to increase her revenue to go to consistent 10K months. She wanted to be a consistent 10K. We hit that almost right away. And then she got really like, I want to be a consistent 20K months, right? But she launched a program and she made $17,000 in 1 week, right? And people are like, oh my gosh, right? Now remember, that was $17,000 not profit. She had to pay some costs in order to make that $17,000. And that was just 1 week. And that was for like a couple of months program. So divide that $17,000 out. So I just want to temper that, right? When you hear figures like $17,000 a week, $50,000 a month, that means nothing until you know all the other numbers that go behind it, right? So for her, yes, though, it was impressive. $17,000 a week is really good, right? But she did it because she cut everything else out. She could have done private coaching and she could have done, like, she picked one thing and she went all in on it. She picked one way for people to become aware that her business existed, and she went all in on it. She picked one way to nurture the relationships of people becoming aware on a business and didn't do anything else. She was only in her Facebook group, not Twitter, not LinkedIn, not whatever. She picked speaking as the way to grow her business. She wasn't really networking. She just went all in on speaking. And that meant a whole variety of things. And then as people became aware of her business, she got them in her Facebook group and she went all in on making that excellent and making that work well. And she sold one thing. And she went all in on selling that one thing. And that's all she did for 90 days. That was it. So she had great success because she focused, right? But it didn't have results right away. So she was able to like sit, because she was doing mindset work and she had me, to sit in the discomfort of, oh my gosh, I'm not making a sale. Oh my gosh, nobody's clicking. Oh my gosh, nobody's expressing interest. Oh my gosh, okay. Like where she would have cut and run because it was uncomfortable, she walked through that so she could start getting the results, right? She is having resistance getting her email going. So I would say, like, again, for you, I don't know what that, like your newsletter or your, but again, for you, it's kind of picking, until you're at the revenue you want to be making, you're in a business building phase. And if you're in a business building phase, there are only a few things that you should be doing to build awareness and to nurture relationships. And you need to pick one way to build awareness and one way to nurture relationships, right? So like if you have a Facebook group for nurturing relationships, you don't need to worry about email and email newsletters and all that kind of stuff. If you're not at the revenue you want, just do really well in your Facebook group, right? Just keep directing people to your Facebook group, right? After that's working like a well-oiled machine, then you can add in the newsletter, right? So I don't know where you are with that, right? How to motivate myself to get email to my clients going. I've been hugely resistant. I'm still getting restarted in a new location, starting a new biz model because old in-person and remote mountains won't work, right? So it sounds like there's a lot going on, right? There might just be a lack of clarity around a strategy around the email, right? But I would say for you, Shay, what's the number one way that people become aware that your business exists? What's your number one way that people become aware that your business exists? So you're in the business building phase because you're not at the revenue you want yet. So here are your choices. Okay, Shay, here are your choices. You can pick one of these. Do they become aware that your business exists because you're networking? Not posting, not marketing. Networking online or networking offline. That's one, networking. On or offline. Number two, public speaking. To groups, associations, organizations, which can include leading workshops and stuff, but groups, associations, organizations, other established groups, and your own, including Facebook Lives, but not pre-recorded videos, right? Anything live and interactive, webinars, seminar, all of that, right? That's number two. Number three, vendor tables. Vendor tables and events in person. That's it. So what is the number one way that people are becoming aware that your business exists? Google. Google is okay when you're in a marketing phase, right? Google should be where you should throw all your money for SEO and for everything once you're at the level of income that you want to be making and you've kept it consistent for 6 months or more. Because SEO, Google searches, your website, all of that, that all falls under marketing, the marketing phase of business. You're in a business building phase of business, meaning you need to be focused on generating awareness in the quickest way to grow revenue, to build relationships. The quickest way is networking, talking to people one-on-one directly, speaking right in front of them, right? Or having a vendor table where you can talk to them. All three of those ways, you can grow your email list, you can get sales calls, right? Grow your email list, get sales calls. So those are your options, right? For me, I would say those are your options. We're going to stop Google. I mean, it could be out there, but now we're not going to throw any more time or attention on it. We're not going to do anything like that, right? So then my next question for you, Shay, is after people become aware of your business, no matter how they become aware of it, Google, networking, whatever, after people become aware of your business, where are they going for you to nurture the relationship? What's the container? The one container you're directing everybody to, so they're all landing in the same container so that you can pour all the ingredients into that container that you need to build meaningful, connected relationships. So they know you as a person, they like you as a person, they trust you in your business, they trust you as a person, they know that you're credible, right? They know you're an authority. Where are you putting all of that information and mixing it up with them so they learn all of that over time while you're nurturing the relationship? So where is that place, Shay? Where is that place currently? After people become aware that your business exists, where are you putting them? Growing my email list. Okay, so is that the place you want them? You want the container to be your email? Is that right? Your container to be the email? So my first question is there another container that you don't have resistance around, right? So in the business building phase, right, the way that you can nurture relationships becomes running your own meetup group, right? Running your own Facebook group, running your own LinkedIn group, or having your own email or some other like discussion forum where you can have live interaction with your community, right? And an email works too for that. So like, is there another one that would be easier that you would be able to be more consistent with to nurture relationships? Facebook. So if you're like, Facebook would be easier, then don't worry about the newsletter. Direct everybody that becomes aware of your business into a Facebook group like this and start nurturing community. Give them all of the education, information, opportunities like this to interact with you, to learn that you're credible, to learn that they like you, but you have a strategy for that. So you need to create a really good strategy for nurturing the relationships and then show up consistently for that. Get that working like a well-oiled machine, right? And then after that's working like a well-oiled machine, then you can add email, right? Or once you've developed content for your Facebook group, you just repurpose that content for your newsletter list. Like I could just send this out as a newsletter tomorrow. Hey everyone, yesterday I did this like open Q&A and there were some really good questions and you might have some of these same questions. So I thought I would send it out to you. Hope this helps, right? So but the idea when you're all in on one way to nurture is that that's the one thing you're worried about. That's the one thing you create strategy for, and that's the one thing you develop content for. If you also want to be on Instagram, if you also want to send out a newsletter, if you do not create different content for that. You just repurpose the content you created for your main all-in way. Does that make sense? So a show, the Facebook Live show, right? Yeah, but you have to be able to continue in a way to communicate with people. So they need to be in a container together. The container has to have walls. So think of the Facebook group, right, as a place where your show is happening so that they can talk about it before, during, after. So they can like, right, because a show is just a show. Right now on the live like this, yes, this is relationship building. This is public speaking, right? So then your issue isn't the newsletter. Your issue is call to action, giving them a call to action and knowing the one thing that you want to lead them to, right? So that's a whole different thing. So that's something I help my private clients. So I mean, I help my private clients with all of this, but at a certain point, right, it becomes like the kind of coaching that I'm like, so somebody asked me this question today and this might help you. Someone said, not you, Shay, I mean, anybody watching. And I'll end it on this unless somebody else has a question. So a client said to me, or I can't remember if it was a client or anyway, doesn't matter. Somebody said to me today, hey, Rita, I hear you talking about your containers. What do you mean about your containers? And I said, okay, here's the deal. I don't answer individual questions about people's business in my Facebook group. I used to. I don't do that for a variety of reasons anymore, right? So if you have individual specific questions like, hey, is this logo right for me? Hey, Rita, do you think that this group is right for me? Hey, how do I get more referrals? Hey, Rita, do you think that this is good for me? Hey, Rita, how can I be more positive? Those are all individual questions, right? If you want individual information, individual strategy related to you and your business, that doesn't happen in my Facebook group, right? You have to get on a clarity call with me. And if you get on my clarity call, right? So the first container is my Facebook group. So I know what happens in my Facebook group and what doesn't happen in my Facebook group. I pour tons of free value in this group. I have posts every day, multiple times a day sometimes. I have my podcast that's giving free advice and information. I have these Facebook Lives like this, either Q&A or other interactive. I have free challenges like the one we're having right now. I have free trainings. I pour tons of great content and information and value to help you grow your business for free in this group. So I might direct you to something I already have done, right, if I think that can help you. Right? So then though, if you want individual information from me, you've got to get on a call with me, right? And if you get on a call with me, I'm still not going to coach you. I'm going to help you see and get clear about where your gaps are and what you need and if we're a good fit and if I have anything that can help you. But some people are like, hey, Rita, but I get on my calls, my sales calls, my discovery calls, my clarity calls, and I start coaching, right? Like I just start coaching all the time. Like I'm giving the answers away and stuff. How do you not do that? How do you keep the container of this is just a call to get clear if we can work together or not? And I said, well, because I have clients that pay me. I have clients that pay me for this information, right? And if I start giving for free to people what my clients pay me for, then I'm not in integrity, right? And being in integrity is important to me. And honoring and respecting my clients and their investment is important to me. So except for times like this where I do random open Q&As or I have a challenge or something like that, sure, some of the information that's happening right here are things that my clients would get. Of course, you're not getting it on as detailed or individual as a level as them. But I will build in opportunities every now and then for this. But for the most part, like if you get on a clarity call with me, that's not a coaching call. And it's not a coaching call because you're not my client. And I only coach my clients because I respect them and they're investing in me and I can't disrespect their investment, right? So it's like I very clearly know what my containers are and like what I will do and what I won't do so that it's very easy for me to hold firm to those boundaries, right? And so I say that because I can coach people here on Open Q&A so far. But if you have questions beyond, guys, what you're hearing, or you're on the replay, or you're like, but Rita, I have more questions, I'll put a link for you to schedule a clarity call with me, right? And that can be the next step for us to get clear on kind of what you really need to be focused on and where you really need to be, and then see if I have any resources for you, right? But like, I do these as a way to just get the party started, get the talking started, get you to think about things differently, get you to understand what I'm doing, what other people are doing, and help you if you're blocked and help you if you're stuck, right? Let's see. I do have a call to action. It's to get on my newsletter email list because that's where I'm supposed to be connecting, and so they will expect that follow-up. All right, and you say I do repurpose my content on other platforms, right? So I guess, Shay, if you want your email to be, I would just pick the way that's easier. I don't know, like, don't have them expect email. If email's not easy for you and you resist it and you don't want to send it, but Facebook and running a Facebook group is easy, then everybody that becomes aware of your business, start letting them know my Facebook group is where it's at. That's where you're going to get my information. I don't send a newsletter. I will only put information in the Facebook group. Like that's it. That's where you go. Like you lead them. You direct them to the Facebook group and then you pour that full of all the stuff they need to love you, right? And to want to work with you and all your calls to action there and all of that, like that community, right? So that you can do that and generate that and build all of that, and that's another whole story for another whole day, right? But if you really want your newsletter, then like don't focus on the other places and just really pour all your time and attention into the newsletter. Chances are you just don't have a clear strategy with a clear call to action for the thing, right? So I would get with me, get with a coach, get with somebody, but don't try to do that on your own. If you're resisting, that's the whole thing. We get in our own way and then we're like, how can I get out of my own way? Guess what? You need support. It's like very hard to get out of your own way by yourself. And if it's like keeps happening, if you keep reading things, and you still say it and you're not taking action, people are like, I don't know why I can't just do this. I want to do it, but I keep reading about it. I keep watching about it. I keep learning about it. I'm still not doing it. I don't know what'll help me do it. Support, a coach, right? That's it. Like somebody like that for you. So, all right, guys, I gotta go. Hopefully this helped. I hope you listened to my podcast episode from this week. It was excellent. Christine is amazing. She runs a surfing retreat, which is terrifying to me. It's incredible, but her story is incredible. I hope you listen to my podcast episode. It's called Surfing Your Edge, How to Reinvent Yourself by Doing the Things That Scare You the Most. It's amazing. There are links to it all in this group. Yeah, that's it, guys. So I'll see you next week for another Facebook Live, right? Somebody did ask, so the reason I said I don't have coaching spots for this year is because I don't have coaching spots for this year. Like I'm fully booked for this year. But I do have 4 spots that are opening in February. I have 1 spot that's open in January and 4 spots that are open in February. But if somebody takes the January spot, then I only have 3 spots because they will also be in February. Does that make sense? So right now I have the potential for 5 spots, but when somebody signs up for January, if they do, then it's gonna be 3 spots, right? So that makes sense. I hope that made sense. Guys, I recorded that podcast episode I'm talking about with Christine, and I didn't hit record. So, right? Like I did a whole hour-and-a-half podcast interview, didn't hit record, and then I had to go do it all over again, so I'm a little tired. But anyway, I say that because I am signing people up now for those spots. So for the person who asked, right? No, I do not have coaching spots available for 2019 anymore. No more coaching spots for 2019. But my rates go up in 2020, right? But because I don't have the opportunity for people to sign up for coaching with me in 2019, anyone who does decide that they want to work with me at any point in 2020, the first part or the second part of 2020, and they sign up in 2019 by putting down a small non-refundable deposit and signing the agreement, they will get this year's rates. So if you're thinking, Rita, I think I want a private coach with you in 2020, right, get on the phone with me. We'll see if it's a good fit. We'll see if it's actually private coaching is the right thing for you or not. And then we can go ahead and you can secure this year's rates with a small deposit and an agreement, right? And that deposit is credited. So it's credited to the first payment, right, when it comes up. And you can start at whatever point I have openings. I have a whole like thing of when I have openings in 2020. So no spots in 2019. I do have, like I said, one spot that opens in January. And then I have 4 spots that open in February. But if somebody signs up for January, they also then roll into February. So I might only have 3, right? But right now, I have technically 4 spots. 4 spots right now for coaching. Either January or February, right? So if you want those, if you think private coaching is right for you, if you're ready to finally do it, make that investment, right? Like, and it's one of those scary things that is an uncomfortable thing. But once you make the investment, right, it really speaks that you're going to like show up for yourself and like all this stuff. Like, I get it, it's scary. But if you want to do it and do it at this year's rate, it's like, talk to me, okay? Okay, hopefully I answered all the questions. So Shay says so you can do your Facebook business page. Everybody knows that I prefer groups to Facebook business pages, right? I do a whole talk about it. People are 19% more likely to buy your products and services if they're part of a community. A Facebook page isn't a community, it's an audience, and that's okay too. That can be good too. But communities are more likely to purchase from you. There's a whole thing about that, right? So, but your Facebook business page counts as a container too, if that's easier for you. You just direct everybody to your Facebook business page, right? So the idea is pick one and do all the content there. So, all right, guys. Anyway, if you want to coach, click on the link, schedule a clarity call with me. I can't coach you this year, but I can coach you next year for this year's rates, as long as you're one of the first 4. If you have a question that I didn't answer, like put it here and maybe I'll write it down and answer it for another open Q&A that I'll do in January. If you have other questions based on the answers, put them here. I'll see what I can do. Maybe we need to hop on a call. Yeah, that's it. I guess this was fun. I haven't done one of these in a long time, so obviously I had a good time because it went till 6:30. So thank you for your questions. Thank you for showing up. Always thank you guys for being you. I had a great time. I mean, this is my one container because I love it, and I love being here with all of you. So thank you guys. Have a good one. Good night.